Hello and welcome to Data Skills Live. I'm Craig, I'm a computer scientist, a gadget geek, and I'm interested in all things tech. And you're about to get hands-on and learn data science skills as part of this interactive activity. And hello, Daniel.
Hello, Craig. Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel, and I'm an engineer with a number addiction. We're coming to you today from our Gorilla National Digital Portrait Gallery in Glasgow. We're also here as part of the ScotSoft conference's education stream, so hello to all of the delegates joining us too. Craig, what's data science?
Data science is a set of skills that people need to be able to ask questions, collect, analyse, interpret, and communicate about data.
We need more people to know how computers use data, and we need more people who know how to use data to help humans make better decisions.
And today you're going to join our data science team and create a data-driven piece of digital art that's about the person that you know best. You. You looking forward to it today, Daniel?
I am. Data is information. It's things that we know. So it's things like facts, figures, measurements, and things that we've counted. Whereas data science is all about collecting data, understanding it, and using it to make a difference.
Yeah, that's right, Daniel. You can use data science skills to work in lots of different areas. In healthcare, agriculture, finance, tourism, the public sector, the creative industries, lots of places. And having the skills to understand data and how to use it to make good decisions is going to be important in lots of different jobs across these sectors.
Yeah, there's so many jobs in this area, Craig. According to Skills Development Scotland, there's over 3,000 data scientists currently employed here in Scotland. And the average salary for a data scientist is about £52,000 a year. And that's around double the average salary for all jobs. So it's a really well paid area to work in too. Today, we're joined by a whole network of data scientists. That's you, and you're joining us from all over the world.
That's right, Daniel. I can see them logging in and getting ready to take part now. So let's say hello to some of you. So when I say your name, I want you to give us a cheer in your class, nice and loud, so that Daniel and I can hear you from the Digital Portrait Gallery. So hello to Prestwick Academy. Hello to St Paul's RC Academy in Dundee. Hello to Balmildy Primary School and the Community School of Auchterarder and Antella and Birch Grove Primary School. Hello to you. Granton Grammar School, Selkirk High School and Stroud High School as well. Hello to all of you who are joining us from those places.
We've also got a few more of you joining, so a big hello to Westerton Primary School, Glasgow Life, Denny High School, different schools joining from Stirling Council, Lober Primary School, New College Lanarkshire, hello to you. We've also got people joining us from America, so hello to Hurst Junior High School and Northwest Community Campus.
Wow, we've got a lot of artists, digital artists joining us today, Daniel.
We have. And if you're a teacher or a parent or a conference attendee, you can tweet us using the hashtag DataSkillsLive, and it's just below. You could also follow us on Twitter at DigitalWorldHQ and data_schools.
Well, are you ready, Daniel? Should we
I am.
get ready? Let's get creative with code.
What is a self-portrait? It's a representation of you. When we make a self-portrait, we choose what we want to show of ourselves. It could be a pencil drawing, a still photograph, or any form of visual expression of yourself. Many self-portraits are realistic visual representations. They look like us. We can also have abstract self-portraits. An abstract self-portrait isn't necessarily how you look in real life. Instead, it might use shapes, colours, and forms to represent you. This is what we're going to do today. Create an abstract self-portrait of ourselves through data. We will use code to draw a self-portrait using personal data. We'll use data visualization software to paint an abstract drawing based on personal data you choose to share. Rather than using paint or pencils, you'll use computer code. You write the code and it makes marks on the canvas. These marks might be lines, shapes, or patterns. Let's get started on our data creating abstract self-portraits. How do I look?
Let's get started then. We are really looking forward to seeing what you create today. But first of all, you need to make sure that you're on the right page. You want to go to cyberskillslive.com and choose Start the Live Lesson. The button's at the top of the page.
Yep, so open up any web browser of your choice and head to that web address down there, cyberskillslive.com, and then just follow the instructions. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen and show you how you can get started creating your first data selfie. Yeah, so here's what the activity looks like. This is the web page that you need to go to. And I'm going to show you how you get started with your first selfie. So I've got a bit of background information for you to read, but I'm going to skip down to the bit where you fill in a bit of information about who you are. So first name, I'm going to type in Daniel, and the school or group name, I'm going to type in Strathclyde because that's where I went to university. So Strathclyde, cool. We've got our first selfie here. And here's the code for it. We've already written it for you. What you need to do is press play, and that runs the code, and you can see the selfie it generates on the right hand side. Underneath the selfie, we've got some instructions for you to read and follow. I'm going to let you do that yourself. And once you've finished, we've got a button that says send your selfie. When you press that, that will send your selfie to us so we can look at it in our virtual portrait gallery. So don't worry if you've just joined us, we're just getting started. Just keep following instructions to complete and customize your first data selfie.
So what is a self-portrait then? Well, basically, if we're thinking about it from an artistic point of view, a self-portrait is a way that you can express what makes you, you. Now, you might be thinking more about the sort of traditional ways that you could take a self-portrait. So you might be photography or it might be painting, but you really can use any creative means you like to create a self-portrait. And Daniel, that's what we're going to be doing today. We're using maybe a different tool.
Yeah, so rather than using paint or pencils, you're going to be using computer code. So P5JS, it's a bit like a digital sketchbook. You write the code and then it makes marks on the canvas, which is the bit on the right hand side. And each of the marks that are made by your code, they're going to represent something significant to you. So it might represent the year you were born, or it might represent your favorite hobby, or the color of your hairs or eyes, or in this first one, I think the color of your socks is even part of the data selfie. So these marks that you make, they might be lines, they might be shapes or patterns, but they don't have to look like the thing they represent. They could be anything. The tool that we're using is P5JS. Craig, what's so good about P5? Why are we using it?
Well, P5JS is a library of tools that are written in JavaScript, and they're really good to use because they're aimed at creative people. So everyone who's joining as part of the session today. And it's put into quite a friendly language with lots of common words that we already use to describe sort of creative actions. So if you want to draw a certain shape, you can write that phrase. You know, we talk about the different colors and markings that we can make. So it's much easier to understand and easier to sort of read someone else's P5 code as well as writing your own. And I know that already some of you are starting to create your first selfie, which is great, following those activities on the page. While we're doing this today, the page will update automatically and we'll have more activities. And whenever you've finished doing your selfie for that activity, there's a big button that says send your selfie. And that will send us a copy of your data selfie. And we're going to be able to show some of them off. Now, it doesn't send the actual code, it just sends the actual selfie itself. So we'll be able to have a look at some of these in our gallery.
Before we go to our gallery, let's meet Kate, who's one of the guests today. So Kate is a computing science teacher who works with the Data Education and Skills project at the University of Edinburgh. Hello, Kate. Good morning. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I think we're good too, thanks. Kate, we're going to be talking to you shortly about data science and what it is you do shortly, but for now, do you want to join us in the digital portrait gallery and have a look at some of the data selfies?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Let's go take a look at some of the selfies just now.
Oh.
So here's the first selfie that we've received. So this one's from Evelyn, who's at Euless Junior High School. Craig, what can you tell us about Evelyn from her data selfie?
It's quite a striking image already, isn't it? You know, so it sounds. So we know that in this data selfie, you had to choose what color your eyes were and what color your socks were. So I can tell you from this data selfie that Evelyn is wearing white socks today. And to me, that looks like red eyes. Is that right?
That's what it seems like, doesn't it?
Must have been up late last night.
Yeah, perhaps. Let's take a look at a couple others. So we've got one here. This one's from Iona, who's at Alford Academy. And the circles are a bit bigger in this one. So I guess that means that Iona's maybe perhaps older and perhaps taller than Evelyn was. And we've got a big circle around the outside here. And
yeah. Kate, I don't know if we told you what this larger circle represents around the outside of the data selfie. Do you know?
Is that height?
It is a height, but it's a very specific height. That's the height of Harry Styles. So from reading this data visualization, what can you tell us about Harry Styles compared to, who's this, Daniel?
This is Iona.
So Iona is not as tall as Harry Styles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spot on.
Yeah. So I guess we're visualizing that data to make that comparison simpler. So, you know, this is the optimum way of telling whether you're taller or not than Harry Styles. Let's take a look at another one. So this one here is from Lynn, who's at Peterhead Academy. And the first thing I'm noticing is the circles are much bigger again. So the circle in the middle, which is I believe the color of sort of your eyes, that represents your age. So I'm going to take a guess that Lynn's perhaps a teacher or a member of staff at that school.
You're suggesting she's much older than other people, Daniel, is that what you're saying?
I'm suggesting that Lynn is older than Iona and Evelyn were in the last couple of selfies, yeah. So keep sending your selfies. I can see that there's more arriving as we keep going, so yeah, keep them coming. And it's really interesting to see what you're creating.
I can see that Denny High School... Oh, sorry, carry on, Kate.
My problem is I'm wearing odd socks today, so I can't decide which colour to go for.
That's a good one. That's something that hasn't been captured in this data visualization. I can see we've had a few tweets from Denny High School who are playing along. Thank you for joining us. And Birch Grove Primary taking part in their first data skills live lesson. And Kate, I think that's the thing about, you know, it's never too early to get started learning these data skills, and people probably already starting to do it at primary as well.
Primary and early years, yes, absolutely. And it's part of the curriculum anyway, so people are learning about how to learn about numbers and representing numbers and doing graphs and charts. So yeah, but this is far more fun.
This is like an art class and a maths class together.
Yeah, it's a good mix.
Computing.
Well, let's take a look at one more before we move on. So this one here is from Lewis, who's at Selkirk High School, and it looks like Lewis is wearing yellowy orange socks and has green eyes. And I can see that Lewis has even changed the background of the data selfie, so well done for experimenting and managing to find some other variables that you can change.
I think we've shown here, Daniel, that everyone's starting to get to grips with the first activity. Why don't we move on to our next activity?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Craig. So let's visualize some more data about you. So we're going to make a different data visualization now, which is going to represent a typical day in your life. So this one looks a bit like a barcode, and that's a different way of presenting or storing data. So what we'd like you to do is follow the instructions on the screen and create your selfie. And once you've finished, remember to press that send your selfie button, and we'll be taking a look at some of them in our gallery.
So keep following those instructions on the screen. Your page will have updated now. You'll see below it there's activity 2. Everything before will already be there, so you don't need to worry about that. And once you're happy, you can send us your next selfie. Let's bring back in Kate to have a little chat with her. So Kate, so we're talking today about visualizing data. Why do we visualize data? And is it more than just using a chart in Excel?
Oh, absolutely. So spreadsheets are full of numbers that are really difficult for our brains to understand. When we turn those numbers into charts and graphs, we find it much easier to spot patterns in the data. So our eyes can see the differences between shapes and colours or widths and lengths of line, but we find it difficult to scan across lots of numbers and figure out what's happening without making it visual. So visualizing data lets us predict the future too by seeing trends. So we could look at the popularity of an artist on Spotify going up in one part of the country, or we could see sales of chocolate going down in one supermarket but not in others. So turning data into something visual lets us compare data, like comparing selfies in your class and seeing what you've got in common with other people and what's different.
And I think that was something that was very clear in those first couple of selfies that we looked at. You know, we could tell immediately the differences in height between people, the differences in eye colours, the differences in, you know, fun things like pairs of socks. But you could see how that might be useful as well. Like maybe if a company, as you said, was trying to compare the sales of two different artists of music, you know, what are the similarities, and then seeing the differences. As you say, it's much easier to do that by looking at something than it is to sort of try to read through, you know, a chart, a sort of table or something with lots of numbers in it as well.
Absolutely.
Daniel, people have been working through, we've had a tweet here from Dr. Gardner, and they can't wait to create their own selfie, so hopefully they've started working on that just now. Hello to ScotSoft attendees. We know that we've got some of the top people from industry in Scotland, so we're hoping some good selfies come from you as well. I mean, you're up against places like primary schools, Birchgrove Primary. You've got a lot to compete with there. Daniel, how are we doing?
Yeah, we're doing well. We've had some data selfies come in already, so we've had a few, but I know that I can see a lot of you are still editing the code, so don't worry, you don't need to rush. You can take as long as you like. But what I think we'll do is we'll take a look at some of the ones we've got already, and then we'll come back and maybe take a look at some more in a bit. So I think let's go back to our gallery and have a look. So here's our first day in the life, and this one is from Vini, who's at Linlithgow Academy. So it looks here that sort of there's two activities that have taken up the majority of Vini's day, and that looks like it's sleeping and education or learning. And I guess that makes sense because it's a school day.
Yeah. And then the television there, does that represent using technology or like watching TV?
Yeah, so I think we kind of meant to mean things like using technology, so like screen time. But yeah, I suppose perhaps you could, TV is an example of technology. Yeah, definitely. You could even change what that emoji is once you've changed the numbers.
Thank you very much for sending in your selfie.
Let's take a look at another one. So this one here is from Ross, who's at Downey High School. And Ross has removed the labels from their selfie, but it looks like it's a similar kind of proportion. So I think the one on the left, that was sleeping, and then it was school. So that's still the bulk majority of the time.
So that looks interesting visually, but I suppose, Kate, that shows you then like why is labeling a chart or a bit of information, that adds to the meaning to it, because you could just look at that and think, oh, that's lovely, but what does it mean? Absolutely.
So we need a key for our data. We need to be helping other people interpret our data and find out what it is. So yeah, it's important to let people know what's represented there.
This is a really interesting one here. So this one's from Brandon, and again, we're missing the label here, but it looks like this dark bar on the right, I know from looking at some of your other selfies that was this time that wasn't sort of accounted for by one of the sort of four activities. So Brandon must do something that doesn't fit into one of those nice categories with a lot of their time, and I think it'd be interesting to find out what that is. So maybe change what that label is and let us know.
Brandon is maybe an agent of chaos, Daniel. He can't conform to the categories that we choose to put people into, and I think that's represented by that large dark streak across the page. That's me just channeling the creative vibes of what I'm getting from that today, Daniel, not just the data science.
This one here is from Iona, who's at Alfred Academy. So I can see Iona's changed the colour of the background, which is sort of a nice creative spin on the original selfie design. And it looks like Iona spends a lot of time using technology. In fact, more time using technology than sleeping.
I'm sure that isn't true for any of us in this call.
No, never.
I think that one looks more balanced as well, doesn't it? Like, I think a lot of people, we saw a lot of people spending time sleeping and at school, but that sounds as if Iona's got more of a balanced day as well.
Yeah, so what I noticed as well was that yellow bar in the middle, the sort of the active time. Iona had more active time than anyone else so far. So yeah, there are lots of things that we could look at. Shall we take a look at one or two more?
Go for it.
Go for it. Let's see. Oh, this.
I'll let you interpret the next one, Kate, when it comes up.
Do you know what? There's literally hundreds here. Let's take a look at this one here. This one's from Peter at Prestwick Academy.
Brilliant. So, I think Iona had more time on screens than she had sleeping, which I'm not sure whether that means that she's not sleeping enough. Whereas this one, at least they look like they're getting a good amount of sleep. Yeah, and a balance of screen time and activity, which is good. I'm wondering what the meh don't know symbol is for this person, because they do a lot of that. So I wonder what time they use that isn't represented there.
I suppose something that we've not done that's an important part of that data cycle, Kate, is like we've just asked people to sort of try and remember what they did yesterday, but they haven't properly like accounted for that time or collected it, and that's an important part of any data process.
Absolutely, and it can be quite difficult gathering data when you're just trying to remember it, because there's a lot of things we do that we just do subconsciously. So yeah, it would be interesting doing this activity where you're actually counting and keeping track of what you're doing. I wonder how
you might think you
don't
don't spend a lot of time on the computer, but you actually spend a lot of time, or you think that you've slept a lot, but you've not. One more, Daniel?
One more. Let's have a look at this last one. So this one's from Emily and Archie, who are working together at Westerton Primary School. And looks like, so I wonder if this is an average of both of their Wednesdays. Because I suppose that's another thing that sort of, we've assumed that there's one person per selfie. So I wonder how they've kind of fitted their data into this. So let's assume it's maybe the average. So again, it looks like quite a balance between almost as much time being active as there is on technology, but more time than either of the two of those in education. And then it's kind of like the same as all of that put together, sleeping. So that probably fits into the kind of like you'd expect, maybe like a third of your day sleeping, a third of your day doing something kind of like learning, and then a third sort of chilling out, doing what you want, your own free time.
I like that we've managed to change the title bar as well, so the colours all really complement each other.
Thank you very much, everyone, for sending in all your data selfies so far. Kate, we'll bring you back in shortly. And Daniel, I just want to say for a minute here, you've literally had hundreds and hundreds of these selfies come in. So thank you, everyone who's already doing that. We're about to move on to the next activity as well. Daniel, we're on YouTube. You need to say it at some point. What should people be doing?
Yeah, we're on YouTube, so why not like and subscribe to our channel? So if you like the video, that helps us reach more people. And if you subscribe, that means you're going to get notified every time we do another one of our live events. So whenever we do something new, it means you're going to get a notification. So yeah, why not? We're on YouTube, like and subscribe. And while you're at it, if you're an adult or you're a delegate at the conference, you could tweet us, send us a picture of one of your data selfies. Let us know how you're getting on. We'll be watching out on Twitter as well. Craig, I think we've had some more tweets come in too, just as I say that.
I can tell you Prestwick Academy are enjoying coding their own selfie as well. And Milnanthort Primary are working hard on their own selfies too. So thank you very much. And we're going to move on to our next activity now. So you can use data selfies to reflect your personality as well. So we're going to make a data selfie that visualizes your hobbies and interests. So in this sketch, an emoji is going to be used to represent your hobby or your interest. And it's going to be surrounded by a shape. And the number of sides on the shape is going to tell us how much you enjoy that hobby. So the more sides there are on the shape, the more you enjoy it. Daniel, do you have a favourite hobby?
Ooh, good question. Do you know what I'm going to say riding the bike that's behind me. There we go. Or perhaps cooking. or baking.
I thought baking
or
cooking,
eating the things that you've cooked and baked. Yeah, absolutely. So follow the instructions below and create your version of this selfie. So you're going to need to think about 4 different things that you enjoy doing, and then you're going to have to rate them. Give them about a score between, I think it's 1 and 10. Craig, what would you choose as your top hobby, do you think?
Well, a lot of my hobbies I've not been able to do so much recently, but I like going to the cinema, I like going to the theatre, I like going to theme parks and things like that. I like going to these places, but I also enjoy reading, so I think that I would have gaming, reading, roller coasters, and something that represents a theme park, or like going to the theatre probably. So like those are 4 things that I would put down.
So when it comes to adding in those emojis to represent the different hobbies or the different activities, you can use the picker that's below the activity, and then you can copy and paste them into where they need to go in the code. Or, if your keyboard's got an emoji button, you could use that as well. Craig, there's quite a lot of people that use data to create artwork. Like, this is a real thing that lots of people do to create their art. Could you tell us a little bit more about this generative art?
Yeah, so generative art is about art that is made by computers, and it can have a really rich history as well. And it has lots of things in common with art that would be made, in traditional ways by hand. So what we can do here is we're basically being able to make random creations using generative art. We can repeat the same graphic over and over much easier than if you were a sort of, a painter and you were drawing the same shape over and over again. We can write the instructions that tell the computer to do that for us. And that is the main benefit of generative art, or using code to do it for us. It's exploring something that we can do more easily by automating it with a computer rather than doing it ourselves by hand. So artists who work in this way are able to create things that you would never be able to create by hand. And actually that's true about data science as well. This is about us using technology in a way to automate things that you would just never be able to do by yourself. You wouldn't be able to read through thousands and thousands of lines of data, whereas a computer can do that much easier and much quicker.
I always think it's really interesting, and I don't know, I quite like you can decode a lot of this generative artwork as well. There's lots of things to digest and things to find out and figure out, and sometimes they're quite coded in a way that's almost a bit like a puzzle sometimes, to try and work out what's the data that's in this artwork. And do you know what? I think we're going to have a bit of that decoding to do in just a second, because we have got dozens and dozens and dozens already. You've only had about 2 minutes to create these, but we've already got some really good ones coming in. So keep working on them, keep sending them, and we'll take a look at some in just a second.
I love just walking through. Normally in a real art gallery, Daniel, you would have to walk around the paintings. This is very good because the art comes to me.
Yeah, the art. Yeah, it does.
Like you could just teleport us in and it's brought in front of us.
Yeah, you just have to press one button in your browser to share it with us, and then we display it on YouTube, and there's hundreds of you they get to see and share all this artwork. Let's take a look at some. So let's revisit our gallery. Let's push the button. Here we go.
Hello again, Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Okay.
Cheese. So this one's from Louise, who's at Stirling High School. And the more sides that are on the shape, the more you like this hobby. So basically the rounder the shape is, the more the person enjoys this hobby. So I think Louise's favourite activity or hobby or favourite thing is cheese.
There's
Loves
no
cheese
denying
more
that.
than cake.
Yeah. Maybe Louise is a mouse.
So what I'm getting here from these emojis are cheese, football, cake, and then these books. I suppose this could represent a couple of different things, couldn't it? So when I look at it, I think reading, but maybe you, Kate or Daniel, maybe you took something else from that.
Maybe studying?
Yeah.
Studying in school.
I thought studying as well, perhaps. I would have thought, yeah, books, library, learning. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder which of the two it is.
Could be stacking things for all we know, but that's, that's one of the things, isn't it? Like, we're interpreting this, we're trying to decode it, and what we read into it might not be what is it Louise was trying to communicate.
Let's
have a look at someone else.
Let's take a look at another one. Let's see. Okay, so this one here is from Prestwick Academy, and this is from Mrs. A. And it looks like tea and cake or coffee and cake is one of Mrs. A's favorite activities, and she prefers it to smiling or having fun. And we've got a different book there. We've got an open book. I wonder if maybe that book means something different again to the stack of books. I'm not sure.
And I think our most, like, because it's got the most sides, the one that's the hobby that looks the most important is running.
Yeah, I think women's running is Mrs. A's favourite activity.
Thank you, Mrs. A, for submitting your data selfie to us.
Let's download some more selfies. And again, I'm getting dozens.
Quite the art collection on your computer by the end of this.
And it's quite exciting because I just get a very tiny preview before I click on the selfie. So until I click on it, I don't actually quite know what we're going to get. But let's take a look at this one here. Okay, so this one's from, what's another teacher? This one's from Ms. McAlpine at Stirling High School. And that's interesting. So bikes featuring, I approve of that one. We've got bats there as well. Kate, how would you interpret the bat, do you think?
Halloween?
Halloween. Yeah, we're in Halloween month.
I think it's Batman. Yeah. I mean, it could just be you really like bats, but you know, my thinking is that's a Batman reference. As a Batman fan, I just know it when I see the data. Pizza and computers as well. Thank you very much. Let's have a look.
Let's scroll through some more. There's so many here, so I'm just flicking through them, and let's see. So let's maybe go with. So this is from someone at Milnathorpe. This is Jack at Holy Trinity. So I can see that saxophone or playing music is up there, but books are the favourite.
And that looks like another runner fan as well.
It does. We've got quite an active set of data scientists, I think, joining us today.
That's good.
I think, Daniel, we should move on to our next section.
I think so too.
We've got more data selfies to go.
So this next selfie that you're going to create is going to be a bit different. It's going to be all about creating data visualization based on some secret data. So unlike all of the selfies you've been creating so far, this time it's going to be impossible for someone else to work out what the data is based on what the selfie looks like. So this time, you're going to edit the code again, but this time you're going to encode some secret information, right? So we're asking for maybe like a name and a house number. So not your address, not your street name or anything, but just your house number, right? But you're going to be creating a data selfie that has that information, but it's a secret. We're not going to be able to tell what that is just from the way it looks, because it's using some technology called hashing. And Craig, I think I'll ask you about that in just a second. But this selfie is going to be truly personal to you. You could share it with other people, but they'd never be able to work out what information is stored within it. So keep following instructions and investigate it further. But Craig, how does this work? How can we be sure that this is actually going to make secret selfies?
So this data selfie uses a technique called hashing. So it's used when you need to store some sort of secret or sensitive information. So this is the same technology that is used by companies when they're protecting people's passwords. They need to be able to keep a version of that password, but it's important that they are not able to see exactly what your password is as you've typed it in. And what we're doing with this data selfie is basically the size, the position, and the color of the circles that you create on the screen are all going to be related to that sensitive information that you've typed in. But there is no way that we would be able to work out what you have typed in based on what we can see in the selfie. When you send the selfie to us, it doesn't send in any of the code. It doesn't send us what you've typed. It only sends us in that image that you've created. And because you're hashing that information, it is, and you can tell me if I'm right here, Daniel, basically impossible for us to turn it from what you've hashed it into back into that original thing here.
Yeah, that's right. So the way that it works is it creates different circles based on that data, but the circles cover each other up, they go on top of them, and there's some randomization based in the coloring as well. So the only way that you could be sure you could know what the data was is if you created another selfie with exactly the same information, and then they would be the same. But even if you just had changed like one letter in your name, or you changed the number by one number, it would look completely different. It's done in an unpredictable way.
Let's bring back in Kate. I've got a question for Kate. Kate, we're talking about collecting data, storing data, and a lot of this is personal data as well. I guess that's an important part. Data privacy must be an important part of data science. What is it we need to know about data privacy and personal data?
So it's important that all your personal data is kept safe by any company that stores it. So it might be data like your address or your phone number, your location information, or anything that can be used to identify you. But it also includes sensitive personal data too. So that might be like health data like a heart rate, or sleep patterns taken from a smartwatch or a bracelet device. Or some schools use a fingerprint system to buy your lunch. And phones might use information about your facial features to unlock the phone, or keep a record of the places you visit. And all of this should be kept safe and secure by companies. And sometimes companies process your data in ways that might seem helpful, but might be a little creepy. So like using facial recognition to figure out who's in your photos. It's helpful when you want to find a picture of your cousin, but it can also be a little strange to see that this company's recognized pictures of all your family members. So it's important that we think really carefully about the companies that we trust with our data. But data can be used for good too. So such as using your location to track if you spent more than 15 minutes near someone who later tests positive with COVID, for example. Or using shared health data to understand more about diseases. Or using social media posts to track earthquakes and provide aid for natural disasters. So good can come from sharing data too.
Thanks, Kate. I think we've had a few more data selfies come in, Daniel.
We have. Let's take a look at them straight away. So this first one is from Christian, who's at Northwest Community College. So thanks for joining us, Christian. And this selfie here, it's got lots of circles, lots of colours. It's quite an aesthetically pleasing arrangement, but I've got no idea what the data is. In this one, there's not so much to talk about here.
There's no way that it looks nice, but we don't know what the data is. But that's what we're trying to do. We shouldn't be able to look at it and say, well, that's number 4, or, whatever.
This one here is from Zach, who's joining us from Birch Grove Primary School. Zach's personalised this one a bit, changed the background colour to green. So yeah, have an experiment, change some of the values, see what happens. If you break it, don't worry, you can press the revert button at the top and that will bring the code back to how it was at the start. So, don't worry about breaking it. You just try changing things, change the colours, change the sizes of things and see what happens. This one's from Eva, who's at Birch Grove Primary School. A bit more white space in this one, some bigger circles, I think. Ellie from Balmoody Primary School. Not as much white space here. But again, the circles are quite even in size.
Their whole primary 7A class have been creating their data selfies today as well. They tweeted us earlier.
Fab.
Oscar has been getting very creative with code here. Oscar has changed the shape produced in this data visualization, and I quite like it. It's quite...
I think Oscar's been remixing our code exactly here.
Yeah, this is great.
That's what we want. Digital artists to take the stuff that we've been working on, remix it, change it, send it to us. Thank you very much, Oscar.
That's brilliant. Very bright.
Another bright one. This one's from, I think this was Harry at Selkirk. The name's gone. I think it was Harry at Selkirk. Lots of small circles in this one. I wonder if that means there's more characters perhaps in the data. I'm not quite sure.
I guess we'll never know, Daniel.
We'll never know.
Because it's hashed in such a way that we could never decode it.
Yeah.
I love this one because the middle looks like an eye looking down on you. It's great.
I can see that now, Kate.
does. It's like a googly eye. Those yeah. One more. This one's from Harrison and Bella, who are joining us from Westerton. And again, you've had a go at remixing this selfie, and you've added in a blue background, which works quite well, I think, with the colours that have been generated.
Daniel, I'm so impressed with all the different selfies that have been sent to us today. Hundreds of you taking part in sending us in your creative responses using your personal data that you choose to share. Daniel, I think we've got time for one more.
I think we have, yes.
As in one more
selfie, and it's going to be a big one, right? So this is your chance to create your final data selfie of the day. So again, read through the code and change the data to fit your personal data. So code your data selfie, and then when you're finished, when you're happy with it, send it to us and we'll take a look at them. And as well, you can actually download any of the selfies that you've created today. So if you click on the selfie, if you click on the picture, it will let you download it to your computer, and then you can share it, or you can print it, or you can put it as your background, whatever you want. But you can keep all of the selfies that you create today. They're your selfies that you've created. Kate, you're part of the Data Education in Schools team. What is data education in schools, and how can teachers and other educators get involved with what you do?
Well, we help schools teach about data and information handling all across the curriculum. So we've got resources and activities for teaching about beautiful data and art, or measuring physical activity with DataFit, or using data to solve problems like plastic rubbish in the ocean, plastic rubbish in the playgrounds or in the oceans. So we've got lots of resources on our website. And we also support schools and colleges that are teaching the National Progression Award in Data Science, which we think is the world's first data science qualification for school pupils.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I know, Kate, that you've also been involved in another interactive lesson that we do around data science and rhinos as well. So we'll be doing another one of those in a couple of weeks' time as part of the ADA Festival as well. So if people have enjoyed today's session and they've subscribed to us on YouTube, they can also sign up to take part in the Defend the Rhino with Data Science. And I know, Kate, you've been having a lot of fun playing that with different schools and classes and seeing people use those tools as well.
Absolutely. We've got to keep saving those rhinos.
Excellent. Daniel, I think people are starting to work through those data selfies just now.
Yeah,
which is going really well.
I can
give
see
them another minute or so.
Yep, I'm going to give you another minute or so, because I can see that quite a few of you have submitted some selfies, but I want to give more of you a chance to do it before we show some. So take your time and create your data selfie.
Great art takes a bit of time.
Can't be rushed.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's take a look at a first couple, and then I'll download some more in just a minute. So let's head back to the gallery. So this first selfie is from Erin, and Erin goes to St Joseph's School. Craig, there's a lot of information in this one. Do you want to maybe talk us through one or two elements?
Let me interpret this for you. Yeah. So something that I know here is that the shapes at the bottom left of the screen represent your siblings, your family. So I can tell you that Erin has one sibling, but they are the oldest, as in Erin is the oldest sibling. So that's what the circle means, and then the triangle means that there is another sibling and they're younger. Is that right?
Yep, that's definitely one of the bits of information that's encoded here.
Thank goodness. Can you tell me, Daniel, another piece of information that's been encoded by Erin?
Yeah, so see these lines at the bottom of the chart. I'm gonna guess that Erin can hold her breath for about 60 seconds, because the full width would be about 100 seconds, and it's going just a bit past halfway. So I think Erin can hold her breath for about 60 seconds.
Excellent. Kate, there's 3 emojis up at the top left. If I were to tell you that one of them is to do with a hobby, one of them is a favourite animal, and one of them describes whether they're a morning person or a night owl, what would you say about Erin here? What do you think these might mean?
So I'm guessing Erin's favourite hobby is playing computer games. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing Erin's favourite animal is a fox.
Yeah. Or is it a wolf? I can't tell. Might be a fox. It looks grey on my screen, but I don't know if that's just...
Yeah. And I'm guessing Erin isn't a morning person.
Excellent.
Wrong.
Thank you very much, Erin, for sending us in your data selfie.
Let's take a look at another one. So this one here is from Freya, who's at Holy Trinity. And I can see instantly, Craig, you were talking about those things on the left meaning siblings. It looks like Freya's got one older and two younger siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the position of the circles in the middle, and the smaller circle, that represents when your birthday is. So I think because it's near the top, I think that means that Freya's birthday is near the start of the month. And because the circle is about in the middle of the screen, I'm going to guess Freya's birthday is maybe in May, June, July kind of time. Maybe perhaps more likely to be
about right to me.
June or July. What else can you tell from this, Craig? There's a few more elements we haven't discussed yet.
There's a red flash at the top right of the screen, and that means that Freya would describe herself as an extrovert, I think, rather than introvert. So that's what I read from that.
Super. Let's take a look at another one. So this one has come in from Andrew, who's at Denny High School. And well, that flash in the top right, Craig, it's blue now. So I guess that means that Andrew would maybe describe himself as more introverted, rather than extroverted. And when asked the question, are you more of a morning or an evening person? Well, Andrew's an alien, so I guess Andrew maybe morning and evenings is different on the planet that he's from.
Interestingly, as well, his favourite pet or favourite animal is an alien as well, and Andrew's listed his favourite hobby as alien.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. You might enjoy our space technology workshop later today.
So this one here is from Oscar, who's at Birch Grove. And I'm looking at the circles in the background. They're a bit more muted in colours than they were on Andrew's there. So because they're sort of cooler colours, that means that this person here doesn't have vivid dreams, or they wouldn't describe themselves as a vivid dreamer. Whereas if they were really bright poppy colours, then that would mean they were more of a vivid dreamer. These colours around the corners, Craig, we've got orange and red and browns. How would you interpret those?
I think they mean that, is it Andrew, is this person?
Oscar. This is Oscar.
Oscar was born in the autumn. Kate, this must feel very much like that we're doing some sort of palm reading or tea leaf reading here. It's not always like the things that we're describing are not visual representations of how like you would normally say something like what year you were born in or like what time of the year you were born in. But is this a valid way to represent data if we're thinking about it from a creative point of view?
Absolutely. And what I love is that you could have a whole class or whole school put these up in a corridor or something, and you could compare your selfie with other people and find things in common with them that you'd never realised. So I think it's a great way to get to know other people.
It's a brilliant idea.
I'm intrigued as to what
print off your selfies. Make sure you set the colour ink on the printer. No, I'm only joking. Teachers, don't worry. I'm not going to tell them to do that. And put it on your wall.
I'm intrigued as to what the flower is in the background. There's sort of 3 petals in the back there.
Well, let's see if we can help you decode that, because Daniel, who is this person?
Who is this person? So this is
Eva.
This is Oscar that we're still looking at here. But so Oscar has, I think, 6 petals on the flower. And if I look at this one here, this is Emma from Invergordon, and Emma's sort of thing has 4. And if we look at their names, Emma's got 4 letters in it, and Oscar has 6. So the number of petals is the number of letters in your first name.
Brilliant. So we could test that out by typing in Samantha or Mohammed.
A longer name.
Yes. Wonderful.
I think we've got time for one more.
One more. Let's take a look.
I noticed the position is different as well. So the flowers are down on the right-hand side there, and now these ones are on the left-hand side. That looks like a pineapple. That's wonderful.
It does.
So I've managed to find someone with a longer name. So this is Christian, who's joining from Birch Grove, and
Brilliant.
yeah.
These are all brilliant. Thank you very much for sending in your selfies today. Kate, have you got another comment to make?
I know, I'm just wondering what the position is for that flower. Does that relate to something? Is that encoded data somewhere?
Do you know what? I think it might. I just can't remember what that might be. But that's why we've got the code, because like you can go back, you can read the code, and because we can see that side of it, that's how we, like before we did this lesson today, Daniel and I were looking back over some of the selfies from last time. And to be honest, we were both like, what does this mean again? So we had to read through the code to remind ourselves. And that's totally normal in technology, looking back over your code. That's why we've tried to write it so it's easy to understand and see. There is one last task that we need you to do before we wrap up. We've got a short evaluation form. So underneath the final selfie, there'll be a link to complete that form. Do that now. We'll let you fill that out just now. It'll be able to tell us what you thought of the activity. Did you enjoy taking part? But really, thank you for taking part today. We have received, Daniel, I can see your computer working overtime. There are hundreds of data selfies and they're all looking brilliant. I think we'll find a way to showcase these on our website, and then we'll send teachers a link so that you can see everybody's selfie that's been made today.
Yeah, and speaking of links, Craig, there's actually some links at the very bottom of the activity where you can find a bit more about us and the other sessions we're running, but also some other information about this topic. But for now, I'd just like to thank Kate for joining us on the stream and acting as our data science, data education in schools expert. So thank you very much for helping us.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking part. Thank you for sending all of your selfies. They were brilliant. There's so many. I'm going to have fun looking at all of these this afternoon. And yeah, we'll find a way of putting them in a gallery. But for now, and
we'll be back this afternoon for the next part of the ScotSoft education stream, where we'll be talking to some experts from the space technology sector. So, subscribe to our YouTube channel and we'll see you at 2 o'clock for that.
Yes, we will. We've got some experts about space technology. But for now, it's bye from Craig.
Bye-bye.
And it's bye from me. See you next time.